Hi, my name is Mary Courson-Cataldi, and the purpose of my speech is to inform my audience about Lyme disease in New England. Lyme disease is a tick-borne illness that occurs in concentrated areas of the United States, and depending on what stage the disease is detected in, it can prevent itself in many different ways and require different treatments. According to sources in areas where Lyme disease is common, the reported annual incidence is between 22 and a little more than 1,000 cases per every 100,000 people. Living in Rhode Island, I was in awe of how common Lyme disease was, and so I decided to investigate. Lyme disease is caused by a bacteria transmitted through the bite of a deer tick. Lyme disease comes from the bacteria Borrelia burgdorferi, which is transmitted through the bite of Ixodes scapularis. Ixodes scapularis is the scientific name for a deer tick. Ticks can be found in hard-to-reach places like your armpit or your groin, although according to my sources, a tick must be attached for 36 to 48 hours or more before the bacteria can be transmitted. Most Lyme disease infections are caused by immature ticks called nymphs, which are only 2 millimeters long. Lyme disease bacteria can be transmitted from an adult tick, but it is not likely because they are larger and easily detected, thus more likely to be removed before the bacteria transmission. Lyme disease is the most common vector-borne illness in the United States, but 96% of all cases reported to the CDC are concentrated in the Appalachian National Scenic Trail. Lyme disease cases are found mostly within the 2,187 miles or 14 states known as the Appalachian National Scenic Trail. According to my sources as well, approximately 2 to 3 million people hike the AT annually, including hikers who spend 5 to 6 months on the trail during the time of year when common tick species are active. The awareness of what we know today as Lyme disease started as juvenile rheumatoid arthritis in the mid-1970s. After they investigated this epidemic, it led to the discovery of Lyme arthritis in 1976 and eventually the discovery of its bacterial etiology. There are 3 stages of Lyme disease: early localized disease, early disseminated disease, and late disease. According to my sources, the most common sign of early localized Lyme disease is erythema migrans, which are red macule or papule that appear typically within 7 to 10 days after the bite, and if untreated, expands for days to weeks to form large annular lesions that are up to 70 centimeters in diameter. The most common symptom of early disseminated disease is multiple annular lesions and cranial nerve palsy, facial nerve palsy, and meningitis. The most common symptom of late Lyme disease in the United States is arthritis. Each stage of Lyme disease requires a different treatment, and some treatments are different for children and adults. For adults and children over the age of 8 years old, doxycycline 100 milligrams 2 times a day is prescribed to treat early localized Lyme disease. And for children under the age of 3, amoxicillin is used with the same dosage. For early disseminated Lyme disease, the doxycycline is prescribed for all the symptoms with the exception of facial nerve palsy and meningitis, which require much stronger antibiotics like ceftriaxone and penicillin. For late Lyme disease, arthritis requires doxycycline for 28 days. In any occurrence the arthritis persists, the same treatment for meningitis can be used as well as for neurological disease. As you see, Lyme disease in New England is a serious and very common disease, so it is important to take steps to prevent it. In order to prevent Lyme disease, steps can be taken to prevent tick infestation. Keeping grass mowed, clearing brush, and removing leaf litter can reduce exposure to ticks. Building fences in residential areas to keep deer away and keeping pets clear of ticks can be helpful when trying to prevent Lyme disease as well. Pesticides can be used but can be potentially harmful for yourself and wildlife around you. Keeping playing in the forest to a minimal, and wherever you are in a heavily wooded area, performing full-body tick checks is also a good way to prevent Lyme disease from being transmitted from a deer tick. In conclusion, spreading awareness about Lyme disease is the best way to help prevent it from happening.